Morning.
Like the most sophisticated thing in the world, and all it needs are these three things. You'll pay $80 and let you have.
Mine costs $23.
Yeah, that's what I just do.
But you're right.
It's awkward.
It's silly. And I got on their case because there's so many computers now with a different headset jack than their phones.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, seriously, Apple? Like, you're using your phone to do the same thing?
But again, I think that's
My background? Can we put this? Just because otherwise it'll pick up the projector fans.
I am. We're testing something with the AP that we're going to upload to YouTube. I've got a little thing that's a follow through back and forth. So for just the presentation aspect of it, that can be uploaded. So we're testing it. So once he's ready, I'll pop that and start
So it looks
recording.
like there's going to be two, so that should be fun.
Yeah. This is going to be fun.
So, cool. Oh, we have a microphone. Are you not going to be using Swiss spots?
So there's going to be two of them. We probably don't need the.
She's not going to be up there.
Oh, okay.
After.
Okay.
Hey! Here. Hey, it's a round of applause, everybody. You take the microphone and then they make you be the MC. Huge mistake. So, I didn't get your name. DeShawn. Ladies and gentlemen, this is DeShawn with Coworks. See, I even got it right. So we're streaming live on Facebook, so try not to be too noisy so we can hear DeShawn. Just kidding. But what a full house. Holy smokes. This is like the most we've had up in the bridge, the restricted area. This is awesome. Awesome. So we are going to have an awesome presentation. I'm excited about it. And then after that, we'll do a Q&A. Sound good? Okay. Ready, set, go. Another round of applause.
All right, before you get started, I wanted to say something else.
All right, they are officially a Where Are They Now presenter, because when they were first getting off the ground, they presented probably about a year and a half ago, right? The team has continued to grow, and they've pivoted, they figured it out. Everyone stand on your screen. So I just wanted everybody to know that we're trying to pull in our past presenters as they continue to evolve and mature, so that we can learn from your challenges and successes along the way. So again, welcome, Sean. Thank you. And Rob, and team, and Rob.
All right, thank you everyone for coming out. So my name is DeShawn, and my company is Coworks. You can see we have this nice little display table over here. Feel free to stop by after the presentation. We'll answer any questions. Before I get started, want to point out my team members here that are with me. So we got Tanner Hallman over here, our lead developer. Hey Tanner. We've got Rob Jordan over here. He does biz dev. We've got Serena Helton in the back. She's our product manager. And then we've got Jacob somewhere over here. There we go. And he works with Rob on the biz dev team. So really great. Glad to be back. We came here a year and a half ago, like Krista said. So this is the Where Are They Now? When we came here the first time, though, I will be honest, we had really more of an idea than a product. We were building the product and we knew what we wanted to do. We had some interest, but it was really getting that validation. And it was really great getting on, getting up here and being able to kind of hone our pitch. So a year and a half later, fast forward, a lot has happened. We do have a product. It is out there. It's wonderful. So it's really cool to be able to come back and kind of share our story. So with that, I'm going to quickly kind of review kind of our industry, and then I'll get into our product, because I know not everyone saw our first presentation. So first, I'm going to talk to you guys about the global co-working industry. So you guys should all be familiar with co-working. If you're not, well, you're in a co-working space right now called the Frontier. It's a wonderful space, as you guys can see. But this is one of many spaces across the United States and across the world. And so this is a graph that kind of shows the global co-working growth over the past decade. You can see around 2008 is really when co-working movement kind of started, right around the financial crisis. And then a funny thing started happening a few years later. It really started escalating. And these numbers only tell part of the picture, because most co-working spaces don't even identify as co-working spaces. They still are just work spaces. And in our opinion, co-working is the future of work. And in 5-10 years, people will not call it co-working. They will just call it offices. So 1.18 million people working in co-working by 2020. We've seen a 180% growth rate in co-working in the last 5 years. Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill is a good picture of that as well. And so that's kind of what prompted us to kind of get into this industry. We are based in Raleigh. We work in a co-working space called HQ Raleigh. If you guys haven't been there, you should definitely come visit. And while we were there at HQ Raleigh, a funny thing happened about 3 years ago, which is we went from 1 space in Raleigh to 7 in a year. So it just exploded, and that really caught my attention and said, wow, what is going on here? How is this happening? And so that's what led us here, so to Coworks. And so first, let me talk about the problem. So this co-working industry, it's a new industry. It's a combination of a lot of old industries. So on the surface, it's office space. So we have tenants, we have people renting out rooms and offices. There's also the shared workspace. So downstairs, you guys are familiar, that's the shared co-working space. And so that allows you to collaborate with other individuals, meet potential clients, potential founders, potential teammates. But it's not just a office space, it's hospitality. It's a product sales kind of real estate, retail, thank you, that's what I was looking for. And it's so many different industries in one, and we call it space as a service. And so now, from your guys' perspective, there's a lot of different challenges, but let me talk about running a space. Does anyone here run a co-working space? Well, someone in this building does, right? And they probably have a very challenging job. Why? Because it's so many different industries. And so what we found was that the people running these spaces are, there's no training for being a co-working manager, right? There's people with hospitality background, HR background, problem-solving IT, but there's no real degree for co-working, and therefore, it's very hard to solve some of these problems. So you have to do things such as manage people's billings, room booking, the resources that you provide, building that community as well, and keeping that community together. And so what we found was a lot of people were using 6 or 7 different softwares, spending hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars trying to solve these problems, and they really weren't even qualified to solve these problems, which is not their fault. So insert Coworks. And so what we built is a co-working management platform. It's twofold. So on the left-hand side, there's a manager dashboard here. And then on the right-hand side over here, I guess my left, my right, there's a member mobile app. And so the mobile app is really the place for the members to engage with each other. And the web app is where the managers can manage everything. So let's jump into it. So we handle everything. Our tagline is, probably can't read it, it's on the bottom of that. You build the community, we build the software, right? We pretty much do everything but the dishes. We do analytics and reports. Yeah, you like that one? Analytics and reports, member and company directory, room booking, billing. What we've done is we've moved all these things into one central place so that you can really start to understand your members and get true analytics and true data on those people. So we can track someone from a lead interested in a space from the first time you tour all the way to tenant 2 years in. And what that allows for the member side is we allow you guys to engage with each other through stuff like the member directory, where you can find software developers, designers, legal people, whatever you need in your space. We really simplify that collaboration within your space. So let's get to the kind of where are they now part. So when we first came here, we had no clients. We have since grown, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but I mentioned that we're at HQ Raleigh. HQ is actually using our software. So we work in HQ Raleigh, and they're also a client. And so if the app is broken, that means it's broken for us too. So it definitely keeps us honest. So let's talk about that in action. So it's been really awesome to see over the past year the growth that we've had. So this is an example of us at an HQ Raleigh. We have events in the app, and so that's the very first thing you see when you log in as a member is all the events going on in your space and around your space so that you can go and connect and engage. You can see who else is attending. We have this resources page here, which is one of our favorite sections. So some of the frequently asked questions, such as, what is the Wi-Fi password? How do I make coffee? Where is parking? Some pretty common questions are kind of always at your fingertips, as well as the company profile and member directory. So you can see that's an example of one of the teams over at HQ Raleigh. And so it's really kind of enhanced their whole operations and their whole member experience. So we currently have 6 people actively using our software in North Carolina. We've got 6 more that are looking to close this month, actually. So we are probably going to double by October, November. So Tanner's really busy, so don't talk to him too much after this because he's got work to do. We've got 15 leads that we're kind of actively pursuing. We went to a global co-working conference in New York City earlier this year. We had a really great success. We brought this great demo table over here. We learned a lot of things. We got a lot of requests. And then there's 5 members dedicated to Coworks. And so a couple other things that's happened since the last time we were here is we've also gotten a chance to, as we've deployed into the co-working industry, look at what other industries this software could be applied to. The answer is many, lots. We are focusing on co-working, and so, but one interesting thing is the chambers of commerce. So we've signed a space in Greensboro, for example, who's actually funded by the Chamber of Commerce. Co-working is a really great economic stimulator in a lot of, especially rural cities. You build a co-working space, you can kind of bring a lot of people together, foster innovation. And so the Raleigh Chamber of Commerce and the Greensboro Chamber of Commerce, we've talked to them about potentially leveraging the software for them. The possibilities are endless, but we're really excited. We're in a very heavy growth scale phase. And so I don't want to spend too much time, but I'll end with some of the great feedback that we have. So why use Coworks? So here's a quote from Jess Porta, the director of HQ Raleigh. Essentially, we're working on some hard data around this, but we really saved her up to 10 hours a week of manual work that she had to do previously. And they were using a software before us as well. It just wasn't good. But really, why would you use Coworks? We save time and therefore money for community managers. We really help automate that onboarding and membership lifecycle and experience. The mobile apps allow you to get a lot of different data that we can share from the managers and the members themselves. And really everything is in one place so that you can really see that full journey end to end and the life cycle of a user. And so those are just some of the things that we do, but again, all the managers that are using our software now, they love it. They've been advocates for us, and so we're really excited. So with that, I will open the floor to questions. I know I'm going over here, so thank you. And I'm going to bring Serena up for questions too. She's expert on the product. And you can come up here if you want. Yeah, questions?
Yeah. So I think what's interesting is that, like, I worked there for a couple years, but I think the competition for downstairs too is all the coffee shops, Starbucks, Panera, Barnes and Noble, coffee shops, bookstores, and as you look, if you looked into like independent ones, especially like large enough to draw a co-working crowd that maybe may profit off of it and turn it into a business opportunity for them.
Yeah, that's a really great point. So this co-working industry, it's really not small. It may look small until you look into the weeds, but if you think it's small, it's because you're not seeing the whole picture. But it's a great point on like coffee shops. I don't know if you guys go to Jubala Coffee or Starbucks and things like that. A lot of these co-working really kind of came out of that need of people not wanting to work in their house. And one big stat that I didn't show up here was that 30% of the workforce is going to be remote or digital by 2020. Technology has allowed us to not necessarily have to have a physical tower at a desk, at a cube. You can be remote, and because of that, people needed a place to work, and coffee shops was, the kind of go-to. This kind of offers an alternative, but yeah, we thought about potentially how do we leverage that into retail shops like coffee shops to kind of let them profit, to your point, on some of these workers coming in. Maybe you can, instead of having to just buy coffee, you can buy a day pass at a coffee shop and have a spot waiting for you. So that's a really good thought, something we're thinking about for sure.
I'm impressed. This looks very good.
Thank you.
What I'm curious about is who are you up against? Has nobody thought of this idea yet? Did you think of the industry by storm? And secondly, are you going to sell this to WeWorks real quick? No kidding.
Yeah.
You guys will be millionaires if they buy into this.
Yeah. So I'll let Serena talk on that.
So we do have quite a few competitors, and what we've realized in doing some research is that they were just CRM systems that now have been rebranded for co-working. And so they don't really have the problem solving that we have, where this was built for the ground up for co-working spaces. Now, WeWork does have a lot of capital to build this on their own, and they do have something
WeWork is
similar.
valued at $20 billion, by the way. With a B.
20 billion. What's
Yeah.
that?
They're doing their own.
They are doing their own, and so where we've pivoted ourselves, like she mentioned, was that we found a niche in spaces that are competing against WeWork. So how can we position them to be competitive with WeWork? And that is right now who our ideal client is. They're mid-size, they have plans for growth and expansion. Maybe they're in a niche space, so they're working just with seed startups, or they're working just with creative folks who are in the space, who are in need of space. So that's right now where we've positioned ourselves. However, like, we do know that WeWork's competitors will eventually need the software that WeWork has in place.
And yeah, everything she said is 100% spot on. And one other thing I'll just mention is that on WeWork's competitors, there's Industrious and Regis, who are kind of the second and third place people. and they don't have the capital WeWork has, and definitely aren't as far along on the software. So what we're doing is really, we're going to try to get a critical mass, and we're keeping our eye on what WeWork is doing, and they may be interested one way or another, even if it's just to, you know,
Go after them anyway.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, seriously.
We'll come here and we'll come back.
Yeah.
So thanks, it's a nice presentation, your product looks great. As a sales guy, what I wonder is, how do you position this product? Do you sell it with hard dollar savings, like you have a manager that does X, Y, Z, and we can do it in half the time? Do you position that as a capability play, will allow you to grow revenues? And at the spot that you're at, how much proof do they require of your sales pitch? Like, let me talk to 3 customers who actually experience this. I'm really curious about this.
That's actually what I'm focusing on every day right now, and it's true. Like, we don't have the KPIs to like provide someone and say, hey, this is going to save you 10 hours a day, and that equals X amount of dollars, because no co-working space functions the same, and so they don't have those same measurables. So right now, our sales pitch is through relationships, and them, like HQ, having a relationship with another co-working space. So that's where it is right now. We are collecting those numbers in hopes that they, will be able to, help us in the long run. The biggest KPI right now that I would say we are pitching is that we don't have a per member pricing, which every other co-working software right now offers, which really limits the space to scale. So if they are planning to grow, going with a competitor makes it difficult for them to plan in the future, where our pricing right now is per feature. So while you have to invest in software in the long run, 3 years from now, you're not going to have to worry about, oh, I'm hitting 300 members. It's going to cost me an additional $200 to have this software. So that's right now why, and our biggest sell, and where we're positioning our future clients is, like, this is how you plan. We're not just trying to be the software, like DeShawn mentioned in his pitch. We are consultants in this because we've spent the last 2 years working with professionals who have grown their co-working space and went from startup to now plans for expansion.
How long is your sales cycle?
About 30 days.
Oh wow, that's fast.
Well, from 30 days from like
Lead to
demo,
close.
from demo, yeah.
Lead to close.
Yeah.
30 days.
So lead to close is not 30. You were saying after demo.
After demo, yeah, after demo.
Lead to close. How long is lead to close?
It's I would say probably 45 to 60 days, but
That's still fast.
yeah, it has. Thank you. But like I said, the product we probably just started selling. I think we said it like realistically May, June, so it really hasn't even been. We haven't started since then. Since end of beginning of summer.
Good job.
Okay, we'll take this one right here, then we'll finish the promise.
Yeah, I'll give you a problem statement, Doran. By the way, this is excellent. I think it's fantastic. I'm thinking about how I could rejigger it to use it for my own purposes. But a problem statement might be in enterprise. I come from Fidelity Investments, and they really struggle, along with the MetLife, this is on its way here, Citrix. They really struggle with competing with what's going on outside of where they want people to badge in and badge out on a daily basis. Finding the right one and the right niche to partner will give you an opportunity to work with them to come up with what that savings criteria might look like from a business plan perspective. So I would encourage you to think about that in terms of a potential pivot. That would be a huge play. Now, a place like Fidelity is likely to.
Where they are in their office, when you say badge out, like where.
They're trying to design and operate internally the same way that a co-work space is, right? So they're retrofitting how they compete in the market in order to be able to attract the same kind of talent. So working with them on how does this work inside their confines. Now, Fidelity's likely to go build their own, right? They're going to just kind of learn from the market and then go do that. But at the next level down, you could potentially have a very large market there that would be able to use this type of application.
tag onto that to ask also, in the WeWorks category, have you also thought about, or do you know if TechStars has anything like this? Because while they're not necessarily a co-working space per se, it's a way to manage their accelerators that are global in nature, and they want to have a platform that allows those accelerator members to stay in contact with each other going forward, as well as VCs, right, that participate. So another idea. All right, I promise.
And on the MetLife or TechStars thing, by the way, I actually met with the not the local one, the Austin guys were doing a tour, and they sat down and they actually said they were interested in something like this for the exact purposes you mentioned. They had. I would love that. Yeah, we definitely need to do that.
Hey, so I wonder if you guys have explored network effect play. I know I'm at American Underground, and we can go to any of the American Underground offices, but they're also a Google Ventures or something like that partner, and I can get space in Austin or wherever the other Google Ventures partners. I think there'd be an interesting kind of opt-in for your clients to be able to say, yeah, you're working here, you want to work there, great, and see what other kind of network effects you can get there.
Tanner, you want to talk about the multi-campus stuff?
Great question. So so that's something we've been thinking about, and since we sort of have the whole community, we have the ability to sort of connect communities together. And one of our long-term plays is actually something called Coworks Community. So that's a little bit of a preview, but basically it's the same concept, is where we're going to connect co-working spaces that use Coworks software, and we're going to connect their spaces together and allow the members to sort of hop around. Right now, if you have a multi-campus co-working space, we do support that. So as a member, you can sort of switch to HQ Greensboro and sort of hop into their campus. So we've leveraged a multi-campus approach, and then the Coworks community is sort of going to bring all the co-working spaces together in the future.
I think it's great. One question I had for you was, with this software too, can you take a look at shared services or needs within the co-workers themselves? If one company's looking for something that somebody else is doing, do you have a field and an aspect of that?
Yeah, that's a really great question. For us, we're kind of torn because we get pulled both ways. You know, the managers they're paying for the software, so we tend to have a lot of time spent building features for them. However, what you just said is one of the biggest inspirations and pain points that's prompted us to go mobile for the apps and create a fully member-focused experience. Like, the mobile app is 100% focused on the member. So we've got our directory. You can put your company on there, and you can put your position and skills. We're in the middle of version 2 of that really revamps the directory to allow you to really put what industry you're part of, what your expertise is, and then allow members to quickly search. So I could say, graphic designers, and everyone in your community would show up there. Because what we really want to do is allow the members of the space to leverage that software, especially campus to campus. Like, if you wanted to go from HQ to AU, if they allowed that, to really engage with each other to find business. Because when we interviewed, so just to give you some background, before we built this, and before we did our original Millions Cups pitch, we actually interviewed Serena and I 50 plus spaces across the country, and with each space that we interviewed, we also got in touch with one of their members and interviewed them too. We asked them what their pain points were, and the members said, "We love co-working. Don't want to go back to coffee shops. Never going to do it. Never going to go back home. This is great. But if I could get more business from all of these people that are sitting around me, this would be game over." And right now they do that through in-person, events, things like that. But we really love to be able to push that and create a tool for that, and just drive economic impact. So that's huge.
I get a chance to ask a second question. So I'm a chess player, and I kind of try to think of 3 moves ahead, and don't do that well at it. But you got a couple of moves down the road that you may be already thinking about, and that is, if you got millions of users a couple of years from now, and you're in 100,000 co-working spaces around the United States. You will have now a gold mine of information about the usage of these places that you can turn right back around into structured information about best practices and how these places could be run. Have you thought about that?
Sure. Data. No, yes. So great point. We have thought about that, and it's sort of part of the long-term plan. Eventually, we want to move into sort of a consulting role for the co-working spaces, and we can do that by leveraging the data we collect. Right now, we just obviously don't have enough to be able to give them, accurate statistics. But eventually, we want to sort of leverage machine learning to sort of suggest sort of best practices for co-working spaces. Things like holding more events because it'll attract more members. Things like you have some members that haven't come into the space in a while. Maybe you should reach out to them. That sort of thing. And so once we get all that data together, we can sort of make those educated decisions.
Design this in from the beginning.
Yeah, and I'll share one story on that of what we already are capable of doing. At HQ, since they were one of our early adopters, they were able to actually iterate on their physical space, which right now that's pretty much impossible. When you build a wall, that wall is up there and you're just guessing more or less. But they were able to find, we have a graph over here, conference room utilization. And there's one little conference room in the corner that got 1% of the usage of total bookings. I mean, it was usually a ghost town. And I think there were several reasons for that, which we can talk about that later. But they were able to have concrete data and evidence to say, you know what, we can turn this into a suite, rent it, boom. They just got $1,600 more revenue a month. I just made that up, so yeah. But that's the kind of thing that you'll be able to do with data, is iterate on a physical space. And better yet, when you open up your new campus, design it perfect the first time because you've got data to support it. So yeah, that is huge.
Another question, I guess similar to what you were saying, sorry. But have you looked at connecting the community managers from your different offices so that they can provide each other with the best practices and questions about this and that and the other?
We haven't done that yet, but we did talk about that. We were thinking about maybe making like a Slack channel as a V1. I don't know if you guys know Slack. Yeah, that's interesting because honestly, we can learn a lot from them too. And when we get them talking, they're going to really highlight all of their pain points. So that's a really great idea. Something we should really get on. But right now, we're just trying to close these people that we already have in the pipeline. So, but yeah,
that would be added value to why they should. Too.
Question. It's a great product. Maybe this co-work space in Singapore, they've been there for about almost 17 years or 18 years and all that stuff in Singapore and all that stuff. But the issue they had, there was one company, maybe I just want to emphasize when it comes to risk insurance, some of the stuff, it seems like you guys control everything. But what I'm trying to understand very well, you guys have relationship with co-worker, like for instance right here, the manager right here. Do you guys do more research on in terms of insurances, when something happens, you know what I'm saying? You guys, are you involved in that, or what's the deal behind it? Because we've had issues like, take for instance in Sierra Washington now, they've put restrictions on some of these co-work space people, some of these app people have come up with, and some stuff has come up and they'll say, hey, hold on, the real estate came up and said, there is some rules and regulations. You guys have you looked to get into that and all that stuff? And what I'm trying to understand, I know you're trying to collect that. You haven't shown us for the next 5 years what you expect, how is your growth going to be done. You guys didn't demonstrate it's a great app and all that stuff. And when I go to look for a space, hey, I've got the space and all. But in terms of like risk insurance and some of the stuff, you guys, do you communicate with them? Property managers, do you have that in your thing? Because if I'm going to go to a space and I pay membership for you, I'm expecting to be covered certain stuff. You know what I'm saying? You guys need to explain that to us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, those are really good questions. So right now we really handle most of the operations, and so when it comes to insurance and things like that, we really work with the space and rely on them to kind of tell us what their policies are. Now, as we get further down the road, as we mentioned before, we want to be more involved in the. I'd love to be able to have a package where if you want to start a co-working space, we can take you from the beginning, get you up and running, and then get your space full, right? And so that right now we're kind of at the spot where it's like you've already built your space, you've got your building, you've got everything figured out as far as your security and your insurance and those things, and now you just need to know how to manage it and how to get it full and how to keep it operational, and that's where we come in. Yeah, we don't do a ton on the legal side. As far as our stuff goes, we definitely have security as far as data is concerned. So we definitely don't share any kind of private information. Everything within the space, that was one big concern. You know, they want to take care of you guys. All that stuff is secure. We really just give them the analytics so that they can really make data-driven decisions. Now, you also made a good point about our 5-year plan, and we didn't really talk about that too much. We've kind of alluded to it through most of these questions, but number one, we plan to scale throughout the rest of the Southeast and then the United States. We've actually already had interest in Jamaica and a couple, was it Indonesia? We had a couple Asian, one at the space in Africa. So we've actually had some international interest already because of that global co-working conference we went to. A lot of those people called us back and said, hey, let's sign up. I said, let's do it, but we also had to, my team's like, hey, we kind of need to make sure we can handle in the States first. So yeah, we're still kind of getting compliant with GDPR, all these other kind of big regulations out there. But yeah, our 5-year plan, we want to continue to scale throughout the United States. That Coworks community that Tanner mentioned as far as being able to be a lead gen tool for any co-working manager, but also any member. So you guys can download our app and then get all the spaces in North Carolina. And so you can choose where you want it to work. And because they're all on our network, you can just hit a button, get a day pass. If you really liked it, sign up for a membership and kind of give you guys the flexibility to work wherever you want and find the best amenities. And so that's kind of in our pipeline.
We have time probably for one, maybe 2 quick questions. That was
Here, and then,
yep, on that side.
okay, we'll take this one and this one.
Yeah.
Mine's not really a question, it's actually more of a comment. I'm a retired engineer. Okay, all right. The comment is this, I'm seeing where you are. You're providing basically office space for people who aren't gonna be doing lease and all that. Where I'm coming from though is this. Many years ago, I was working with the Hyatt International branch. We were integrating the 80 hotels, this is back in the 1980s, 80 hotels that Hyatt had then needed to be integrated with the 40 overseas resorts. And what I'm thinking of is where you've got your office space, reaching out to those people where they have people coming in. Somebody might need your services in the city they just flew into. Right. And you might be able to cultivate as you scale up and time goes on and your business grows, working with people like that. They're coming in from anywhere from Asia, Europe, South America, Latin America, Central America, who knows where they came from. And they're gonna they don't know anything. You know, they're in a city they've never been in their life. So that's something for you to kind of think of down the road. That's all I have to say.
And the US is very much behind in terms of the culture of co-working. Absolutely. But the thing to note is that the culture of co-working here is very, very different than the culture of co-working overseas. So from our research, we found that building community and people and relationships are what are keeping people in their co-working spaces here in the US, where overseas it's like, I need a desk, I need to work. This is how we get me my desk right away. But what Tanner and DeShawn set up for a Coworks community, that's the whole idea of the platform. If they are part of the Coworks app, they put in their location, it's going to direct them to the closest co-working space. They'll be able to purchase their desk right away, onboard them through the app. This is how you get coffee when you get there, and this is how you check in. That is the 5-year plan for Coworks.
sorry, just to add to that, because we kind of talked about WeWorks and Coworks community and what Serena just said. So just piggyback off that, the reason WeWork has so much clout as the industry leader, money aside, is that they have this international network that you hop off a plane in any city and there's a WeWork there, and that's the clout that they have. And it's a homogenous culture. It's like the McDonald's of co-working. That's a really bad cliche, but like what you're gonna get when you walk in, right? So Coworks, our solution really empowers the independent co-working spaces of the world, like the Frontier, HQ Raleigh, American Underground. It empowers them to compete against WeWork, because the fact of the matter is WeWork's going for the kill shot here in Durham, in Raleigh, in Charlotte. So they're going after Frontier, they're going after American Underground, they're going after HQ Raleigh, and they're trying to take them out. And that's the clout that they have, whereas this Coworks community can allow, instead of WeWork dividing and conquering all these spaces, it gives them a community that they can all kind of band together and combat that, if that makes sense. So.
Great.
Right, last one,
Rob. I came in a little late to the party, so if I say anything repetitive, you can give me a beat down afterwards. One thing to build on what Carol said, I think a great angle for you guys to use as leverage is risk mitigation. A lot of, and from two standpoints, one from an occupancy standpoint and one from an actual insurance underwriting standpoint, because a lot of owners of buildings are going to get directly into this business faster than they want to. So if you want to compete with WeWork, he actually took away one of my questions, which was good.
Sorry.
No. You already answered it. I mean, you should literally walk in and pitch and say, you want to compete with WeWork, you need us.
Yeah.
If not, you're a schmuck and we'll leave now. You got to be that direct.
Yes.
Because I think that if you have all this data, think about this. You can go to AIG or Aon or one of these big underwriters and say, all right, fine, they're putting co-working in here. How do you underwrite that asset now? They don't know yet. You have data. You can help that process and get this set up a lot easier, setting aside the fact that you can now play on supply and demand, and that would be extremely powerful. And there's a couple of people you really need to connect with. If you haven't connected with Ray Lindenberg, Workplace Association in New York, he's like the guy you need on speed dial. His network of operators is old. It's been around a long time, and it's everybody but WeWork. Essentially, that's how they modeled their organization. And he knows more about co-working than anybody I've ever met. Wow. So he's a guy like that you should sit down with. He's like clairvoyant almost when it comes to every issue you can imagine that comes up in co-working. When you meet him, you'll know what I'm talking about. So we can connect afterwards, and I got about 6 other things, but
that'd be great.
Short on time. So
yeah, thank you.
All right, with that, unfortunately, the time says we've got to close, but thank you, Team Coworks, and we're really proud of you. All right, before we end, first we're going to do real quick community announcements, and if I can find my notes, I will launch off. All right. So just so that everybody knows, the Launch Place Big Launch Challenge, they have extended their application deadline to 4th September. So for anyone wanting to apply to that program, which I encourage you all to take a look at, the cards are over on the table. It gives you the application link. Again, the Big Launch Challenge in Danville, Virginia. They partner with First Flight Venture Center here and are very, very supportive of North Carolina startup, the North Carolina startup community. So take a look at that. I also want to give a shout out to our co-organizer, Jim Roberts, who had to have emergency surgery on Sunday. He's doing well, but it was fairly serious. So just keep him in your thoughts and prayers. He's going to have probably a bit of a lengthy recovery. We were going to launch the use of the cue ball today. Unfortunately, we're missing one little piece of technology, so we'll roll that out literally next week. But I want to give a big, well, first of all, for those of you who were here last week, we had a really nice little 1 million cups crowdfunding that netted us $24, which we put toward the cue ball. Thank you to Ricardo Schleska over in the corner. Imperative Product Operations stepped in and continued the funding of the Cue Ball. So thank you very much, Ricardo, for that. We're grateful for our new Cue Ball sponsor, and we will all get to play with that next week. And no more passing the microphone. The next thing, the last thing from my end is I want to acknowledge and welcome our new organizer, Nikki Klaus. Hey, stand up. Oh, guys. She is going to be now taking over Casey's role of getting our weekly email, letting you all know who's coming and what's happening, and our news roundup at the end of the week. That's going to be Nikki now. So,
So I screwed up. I'm the one.
Yeah, there you go. You can talk to her following week. Now, anybody else have any community announcements? JB, you got to come up here, please, and use the microphone.
Good morning. Real quick, how many of you been involved? Geez. How many of you are involved in product development and introduction? I should see every hand because it involves going from concept to industry statement. Well, accordingly, last night I heard on the news that this weekend is the meteorology definition for fall, which means Fall Product Camp is scheduled for September the 26th at the Hunt Library. It's going to be a fire chat with the consumer psychologist and strategic consultant, Dr. Michael Barberry. It'll be from 5 to 9, again at Hunt Library. If you want to go, please go up to productcamprtp.org and register.
That's it.
So I just heard about an interesting new organization, and I just wanted to share. It's called Zebras Unite. I don't know. Show of hands. Anybody know about zebras? No. See, this is why I was
like the animals, or?
Like yes, like the
stripes.
Right. Yeah, that's cool. No, so there's kind of an anti-unicorns movement, which is fundamentally saying, it's saying some of the way that we do startups is backwards and is wrong, and this kind of growth at all costs, and growth is the most important thing, leads to some bad practices in the long run. And so there's this Zebras Unite movement. It's based on a Medium article that somebody put out a couple of years ago, and there's now a chapter of Zebras followers, I don't know, in the Raleigh-Durham area. So if you want to go to Meetup and look up Zebras, I'm sure there's not that many Zebras meetups. They just got started. There was kind of like a pre-meetup last week, and I think it's going to get more popular. But it seems like a really good group, and if you Google it, I'm sure you'll find the article, or I'd be happy to connect you with it. But it's pretty interesting stuff.
Maybe introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Benji Davis. I am founding Whirl, and I hope to be back up here in a few weeks.
Just line up. Just line up next to the poster, and we'll just get y'all up there. Yeah.
Let me just say something really quickly. So thanks to the suggestion of one of our community members, we're going to try to capture these because we're all interested in the announcements, but we don't all get the opportunity to scribble everything down. So I'm taking notes. Hopefully we'll have a whiteboard next week, but the little board over here, you can just walk by, take a photograph, all right? So next.
Hello, good morning. My name's Allie. I'm with the CED. This is my first Million Cups meeting. So awesome crowd. I love the energy.
Welcome.
Yes, thank you. So I'm here to promote our CED Tech Conference. Has anyone here been to the CED Tech Conference? Fabulous. Okay, it is fast approaching. It is September 12th and 13th at the Raleigh Convention Center. You want to get your tickets. If you're going to go, register, because after the 5th, your prices go up $75. So I'm here to save you money. We want you to be there. It's going to be awesome. So it's going to be full of speakers. We've got David Morgan with Bandwidth, IBM, all types of businesses, companies. If you're an entrepreneur, it's a great opportunity for you to meet with people who are at different stages. We'll have investors. We have over 60 companies that you can network with. It's really where you want to be if you're an entrepreneur and also in the tech community. So I'm just here to plug that. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me about the conference, and you can get your tickets at cednc.org. Yes, thank you.
Hey, good morning. My name is Alan Christensen. I have a small side business called Christensen Photography. I'm doing my first show in Raleigh coming up September the 7th and the 8th. It's going to be at Josh Stubble's Family Legacies office. Josh is one of the sponsors here. The reason I bring this to your attention, because besides the fact that I'd like to sell some photography, is I'm going to be doing free headshots there both nights, so if anybody needs headshots done. And the other thing is I'm giving 25% of the proceeds to an organization, local organization called Arts Access. It's for artists with disabilities. So come get your picture taken and help make some money for a good cause. And that's September 7th and 8th at Family Legacy. Thank you.
And I'm Holly Solinger, and I'm with North Carolina State University Technology Training Solutions. We have a new Technologies Expo coming up on October the 11th. The thing that's different about our expo is it's the opportunity for decision makers and people in the IT field to touch and feel new technologies. So we have a whole area called the Exploratorium where you can come and dabble with virtual reality and augmented reality, robotics, drones, all kinds of things, touch and feel. It's only $10 to attend. We're being gold sponsored by Dell VR. We also have Google Fiber doing one of our keynotes. They're going to have a presence there as well. So we've got a lot of companies as well. And these are on the table over there. We're still looking for additional sponsors and vendors. We want to get everybody that has cool new technology there so that all of you can come in and see what's coming down the path at you. Thanks. Last one.
Hi, I'm Steve Dial. I have just incorporated in a company called the Training and Apprenticeship Guilds, and I am working to bring apprenticeships to underserved communities, and I just need as much help as possible, so if anybody has input for me, I would appreciate it a lot.
Very much. All right. I don't know if it's right now. All right. Anybody else? Otherwise, thank you for coming. We hope to see you again next week. Thanks, everyone.
See you guys. I was going into the house. We're gonna get him out of the house. Yes.